Knowing you were coming on the show, a friend of mine said, just ask him where he's been for the past 12 months. So where you been for the past 12 months?
I've been in the studio, actually,
Yeah.
writing a new album, which has been good because I think last year was, well, it was so mad. And I really wanted to, well, two things. I think kind of take time out to look back on last year, you know, and enjoy the memories, and then really concentrate and show I was taking the second album seriously.
How did a boy who's from your background, who read politics at university, end up on Pop Idol?
I don't know.
I mean, you
My
can't...
dad still asks me that question.
But I mean, when you went to university, you didn't want to be a pop star then, did you? I mean, you were reading politics, but presumably you had a different ambition in mind.
I wanted to be a singer. I always wanted to be a singer.
Did you?
Yeah, and
So why read politics then?
it was a sort of plan B, and I knew I knew that I wanted to finish my education. I thought that was important, and it's really stood me in good stead because, you know, it's great to sort of have a bit of knowledge and still use it occasionally.
And frighten people, you mean?
And frighten people. Frighten myself. Right?
And what about Pop Idol? I mean, what was your route into that?
Well, it was another opportunity, and
And what did you make of it when you got there? What did you make particularly of that very rude fellow, Mr. Cowell?
we didn't get on famously well.
No, you didn't. That was quite obvious, isn't it? Yes. I mean, from the very beginning, there was no love lost, was there?
Yeah, I mean, I always said, I think I said on the show, you know, it's good to be honest, but I think there's a way of being honest, and perhaps we clash slightly. But he seems to have calmed down a bit, actually, now. But yeah,
I've not noticed.
No.
But I mean, well, what do you make of that, again, coming from the background you came from, middle class, very polite, good-mannered boy. What do you make about that confrontational aspect there is in that show? I mean, you must have objected to that, mustn't you?
In what sense?
Well, in the sense of them being rude, of saying things that were there to demean people, basically, not criticism, and
Yeah.
actually knock you down.
I found that tough, actually.
You
And
did?
I think people...
Did it get to you?
Yeah, it did. I mean, I think people saw that, and maybe that's why I so publicly kind of responded to it and you know, stood up, maybe, for the people who'd gone previously. And I remember talking to, you know, friends and my family before I went on the live show on television. And I said, you know, there's one thing. I think people have to bear in mind that it's entertaining, but also, you know, people will go away and take that to heart and maybe never try singing again.
Well,
Whereas
that's the point.
There's so many people I saw who were great and didn't get through, and I was one of the lucky ones that did. And I noticed, you know, having a bit of confidence, people putting some confidence in you, the difference that makes.
Of course, it's
So,
about, yeah, and that's what's negative about it, is that way of demeaning people that makes them, that stamps on their dreams. And you mustn't do that.
I think you're right. I mean, I agree.
But you went through with it, nonetheless.
Yeah, I fought on.
You weren't favourite to win and you won, so I suppose that was two fingers up at all that, I suppose. But, yeah. what about when you came out? Did you plan to come out, or did you actually do so because you were going to be exposed, so to speak, by a newspaper?
Well, I always called it the second coming, because I came out once. I never thought I'd have to do it again. in the same
Come
year,
out to what?
He's been deliberately...
I'm only joking.
Carry on.
Yeah, it was a bizarre time. But I want, you know, no one ever asked me the question, so I always said if someone asked me, then I would say that I was gay, but no one ever did. And then there were more sort of, I mean, maybe slight threats by some members of the print press. They were going to run stories, and I just thought, well,
Bastards.
I thought, you know what, that's what I thought.
Sure on me. I'd have gone down with a bat. Next time, just give us a bell.
Did it surprise you that there was this inordinate curiosity about your sex life? Or were you prepared for it?
It didn't actually, because I think, you know, I was sort of, you know, I knew that was what came with the territory, I suppose.
Yes.
And when you're thinking of singing professionally and hopefully successfully and therefore in the public eye, you know, that's part of it. People have a sort of fascination with celebrities' private lives.
Yes.
So it was nice to sort of get it out of the way, actually, and the reaction was fantastic. And I like the way it just sort of passed, and I was, you know, back on doing what I was
What's interesting is that there's that difference between what the prurient press thinks is oh gosh, astonishing, and the way the public say, well, so what?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
it is extraordinary, isn't it, that?
I thought, I mean, maybe, you know, I mean, it kind of happened through the show as well, I think.
Yeah.
The public kind of going for someone like myself who maybe wasn't as obvious a choice for a sort of pop idol. And I think it was nice, again, to have their support in that case.
What about the other problem, too, that you have if you win Pop Idol, that there's another Pop Idol, and then another Pop Idol, and another,
Yeah.
so you're like a conveyor belt of Pop Idols.
Yeah.
And then the problem is, how do you actually maintain that impetus that it gives you?
I think, I mean, I'd thought about that, and that's why I sort of took time out, you know, and sort of stepped out of the public eye and wanted to show that I was taking my career seriously and taking the music seriously. And I knew that I needed to find more of a sound that was sort of me. And to do that, you needed to kind of, you know, get away from all the hustle and bustle and really concentrate on the music.
I mean, what are what's your taste in music? Who are the people who you admire when you're growing up with kids? Who do you listen to?
I mean, mainly soul, old soul,
Really?
soul and jazz.
Yeah.
So Marvin Gaye, yeah, Curtis
Oh,
Mayfield.
That's what I'm going to call my son.
What, Marvin Gaye?
Marvin Gaye.
There you go, boy.
If it's a boy, I don't know.
If it's a boy.
Might be. Or I'm all, I think.
Yes, he's about to be a proud father, actually, Will, in January
Thank you
time.
very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Boy or girl, you don't know?
I don't know.
No.
We're hoping for a baby.
Yeah.
Very good. So what's the ambition then? What's the dream now? I mean, obviously the album sells and you do well and they...
Well, I don't know, not obviously though. I mean,
Well, no, obviously you want that. That's
Oh,
the
the one,
immediate
yeah,
dream. Let's suppose that comes true. What's the thing after that? I mean, where do we go?
well, it's funny because I have really concentrated on the writing and sort of learning the craft, and I've really gone into that. So now I find myself thinking of more people that I'd like to collaborate with in the studio.
Yes.
And that's, I've really enjoyed that whole creative process.
Yeah.
You know, probably more than coming out in the public, actually. So, you know, they have to kind of kick me out. But, so hopefully more collaboration and maybe some acting and some other stuff. I'd like to open a cafe as well.
Oh.
Which I know people think is really weird. But
Why a cafe?
I don't know, I like cafe culture and I like cafes.
Would you stand behind the espresso machine? We were dealing out stuff like that. Waiters, a little bit on an apron going round.
I think if the,
Yes,
album, if the album doesn't do well.
You might well be. Yeah, you might well be actually using that degree you got at university.
Exactly.
I doubt it. Will Young, thank you very much indeed.
Nice to see you. Thank you.
Well done.